Hi, everybody. Welcome back. This is Miscellaneous Candor. Frank, honest, and otherwise outspoken. I'm Robbie and Stephen. Are you there?
I'm just thinking you have a very soothing voice. Did you like it's I don't know if you're training your voice, but I feel like I'm listening to it now. It's very soothing. I kind of just want to slip into a coma. In a good
Slip
way, a good
into a
coma.
coma.
A good
Okay, that's
coma.
great. You
I
want
mean,
to
I
go
just
to
want to close
sleep?
my eyes. I just want to close my eyes and slip away.
I
Not
have heard
suicide,
that
but
before. I've heard that before. Not the slip into a coma part, but I heard it's soothing. Yes.
Hello, friends. It is I, Stephen with a PH Kennedy, board certified atheist at your service, knocking on your door. Let's talk all things. Okay, I won't say because Robbie's going to get a little upset. So, how you doing?
Hey, you said we have a limited time today, so let's get at it.
Oh, okay.
Snap, snap, snap. We need a snap sound effect too. Okay. So
He snaps
you were doing that thing where you
like
shake your hand, huh?
I'm
You like
supposed to. Yeah, yeah,
I guess
exactly.
I can tell the difference with that one. Okay. All right. Let's get to it. I listened to a new podcast. It's called The Lost Boys. It's by Scott. It's a limited series. Scott Galloway and Anthony Scaramucci are doing it, and essentially it's about how men are having problems and the issues right now with men in general in the United States.
Oh, Robbie's favorite topic: men with problems. Let's hear it, Robbie. What do you got?
No, it's not my favorite topic, but I do feel like just because you can, okay, I do feel like the idea that women are successful now more so than men in the sense of like if we look at college, right? For example, they were saying I think in 1970s or something, there were 60 something percent of college students were men and 40 something percent were women. And now that's actually reversed today. So there's like
It's
60% of the college admittance are women and like 40% or so are men.
really.
Yes. And
Are you sure
there,
about that?
yes, yes.
Hmm.
This is the thing about this particular podcast. I will see if I can find one because it is on YouTube too. So you can watch it as a video. They had stats. They had all of these stats. The one stat too is they said that um what is it? 20 no, 50% of men 18 to 24 have never asked a woman on a date.
What does that mean?
It means they've
How?
never approached a woman
So
and
you're saying they're
asked her
using
out.
AI as a girlfriend? Is that what? I
It's
mean,
AI,
how?
it's
How?
porn, it's I'm afraid, I don't want to be
Hey, listen, we
rejected.
had porn too, but we still,
But not in the way that it is that you can access it on the internet, where you can just go into your room and just look at it and get all caught up and think that that's real, like real intimacy and sex and all of that.
yeah,
Where no, it's
true.
not. It's we know that it's
We
all
had the hard,
concocted and
we
that
had the
it's
magazines.
yeah, the magazines and all that. And we all know that it was, it's all it's not real. And also too, it's demeaning. It's demeaning and it's not like a baseline for how you should cure or
What?
create your sexual encounters and relationships, but it's on because it looks like that. You see it on a video, you can easily pull it up on anything online. Like that's what guys are caught up in. Okay, so let's not just go down that rabbit hole. Then they said that 1 in 5 men between the ages of or under 30 live at home. So 20% of men under 30 live at home now. And they
So
also were saying that
20% of men under 30 and are sitting at their parents' house jacking off to AI porn. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if it's all interconnected. I mean, you're linking it all up that way, but I'm not. I'm just talking about the specific data items. You're just trying to be salacious. But the point is that and then there's just a lot of idea that they talked about like how high the suicide rate is for men. They talk
Hmm.
about, and not just white men. I mean, they are talking about white men, but all men in the United States. And
Hmm.
that this whole idea of like a lot of families have the families who have maybe, let's say they have two girls and a boy, right? And I know this too. The girls are go off to college and the boy stays home, or the boy is at, you know, doing something else. And then there's not vocational classes. Like even my mother and I were talking about this, and she was saying, when she was coming up a long time ago in the Arctic ages, um, they had vocational training, and everyone learned how to do things in the home. It was because that's what how you needed to do to be able to function. But they took all
Yeah.
those classes out of classes. So a lot of people, and it's not just men, but in even in general, all Gen Z people, they don't know how to do things on a day-to-day basis. How do you
Hmm.
change a tire? How do you change a light bulb? They said some of them don't even know how to change a light bulb.
How do you do laundry? How do
Yes, how do
yeah,
you do
this,
laundry? All this stuff. How do you clean your house? How do you,
yeah.
because because their parents are doing everything for them. Literally
But
everything. Okay, on the podcast, Anthony Scaramucci's new wife was on there. She says that she knows that she was brought up hardcore, right? Where you basically had to figure stuff out. You and I were brought up like that. You had to figure stuff out. Like a lot of times you saw your parents, but a lot of times you
mhm,
were just out there figuring things
mhm,
out, learning the hard way, right? And
mhm.
she says like her son will come home and hand her his backpack and never charge his laptop for school, and she's the one charging it. Like he doesn't even
What?
Yes, he doesn't even charge his laptop.
So are you saying that it's in part a change in it's like a cultural shift in the way parents handle their children?
It's both. It's the way parents handle their children, and then it's also the way the environment has changed to where there's I wouldn't say there's a question,
Well,
but there
why
is.
are boys becoming such slackers? So there's
Why are boys
lower
becoming
college
just
enrollment,
slackers?
more kids, more boys living at home, more boys that are choosing, other options rather than asking a girl out up to age 26, you said? They haven't asked
Yeah,
the girl out.
24,
So
18,
why,
24.
what,
Why is
what,
that
what exactly
happening?
is going on?
Okay, so here's the thing. So this is what they talked about on here. They talked about the fact that, there was a change where it was like, okay, yeah, men are doing everything. Oh, open it up. Women, go for it. Be who you want to be, right? Nothing wrong with that. This is not a conversation around, well, now women had enough, so let's go back to what it was. That's the extreme toxic, I don't like the term, but the term when people say toxic masculinity, that's what that means, right? Let's go all hardcore, Neanderthal, throwing women over your shoulder, all that bullshit. No, not going back to that. But it's the idea that they created all these things for women to grow and then said, okay, boys, too bad. Just kind of like nothing. So there's this environment where it's like, okay, go, go, go for women, but there's nothing for boys. And I'm saying boys. I'm not saying men, right? But boys become men. But if you're not, because kids are kids, whether they're boys
Yeah.
or girls, right? They're kids, and kids need structure. They need to know that they can do things. They need confidence instilled in them. They need, um, care. They need nurturing. They need guidance. And so the conversation was around, there was a lot of specifics and specificity around guidance for girls to perform, do this, do that. But for boys it was like, well, you're already good. Like men are already good, but boys too bad. So all of that was gone in terms of development. And we're seeing the consequences of that now.
So
And
you're
so
not.
here's the thing. Huh?
So
Go on. I was
it's
gonna say.
not necessarily that the children, these boys these days, are just not taking initiative, and there are several factors involved. It's not
Yes,
just
several
that.
factors. Hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting. I think you would like the podcast, the way they talk about it and the data. I mean, Scott Gallery has so much data around this, and he talks about this too. He said so. Um, Evidently, if your boys get more suspended more from school than girls do, right? Just because of how things are structured. But not only that,
Mm.
and then black boys, he says, is black boys get suspended 5 times more than other boys. And he said that if you're the studies show if you are suspended from school more than 3 times, you will not go to college. That's what the
I
numbers
mean,
say.
interesting. That's an
So
interesting correlation.
yes, and so it's just really because here's the thing, you can't have a society like we're not it's not Wonder Woman, right? It's great, that's fine. You have the Amazons, that's a fairy tale, but we are a society of men and women. So you have to ensure that men are viable too, and boys learn to be men in
Mhm.
society, or else you're creating a society of basically lost men in society where lost men they go into these dark holes, they go into like, oh okay, we need to like attack women. It becomes a more violent society essentially.
Mhm.
So it does not breed itself to have a civil society when men are hopeless. The other thing he said, which I thought was so interesting, I don't know what you're going to think about this, but Scott Galloway said that in these studies, and he had this guy who's been studying this forever, but that biologically, men's minds are actually emotionally weaker than women. So you take
Right.
a man, you take a boy, and if he loses his male role model when he's a boy and he's in a single parent home, he's
Mhm.
3 times more likely to commit suicide, be on drugs, go off the rail than a girl.
Fascinating. Very
It
fascinating.
is. And it has
I
to
wonder.
do with the mental process of resilience. Evidently,
Mhm.
women have more resilience in these types of situations than men do.
That's entirely possible.
And
Yeah,
that
I
is
mean,
yes.
we learn so much about how the male and female brain are very different. We're wired very differently, right?
So anyway, I thought I've been listening to it.
You
I'm
know,
not through the whole series yet. They're still taping them, but I've been listening to it and it's really interesting the data. And then you look at people and you look at the environment too. And they talk about the Tate brothers. I know you know who they are and how they're the
mm,
extreme version, right? Rape
yeah,
women. Women are there
yeah,
just for,
and they're proud of it. They
procreation.
walk around proudly. Yeah,
Yes, but there's no other role models. So these people who have none, they look at them and they think, well, that's what being a man is, right? And
yeah.
they said too that the reason why 54% of women voted for Trump was because they were voting for their sons and their husbands. And that it was trying to do everything against like the what is it? Um Baseline, right? Everything against the status quo. Even if it's chaos, even if it's crazy. And I mean, I get that, but I mean, I understand that, particularly if you're talking about the Caucasian white contingent. And if they
Hmm.
are, because there were a lot of moms who had their daughters in college and their sons in the basement playing video games.
Well, that's
Like
I'm
that happens
thinking
more
a
than you think,
large.
more than we thought. Anyway, go on.
I'm thinking one of the bigger factors are, in this whole equation are, uh, is the fact that these boys are so obsessed with playing video games in their basement all day long,
But
and I'm
you're
sure.
right. But there's one more thing too. They talked about COVID had a lot to do with this too. So we haven't really. We're seeing what the impact is on our kids from COVID, and many of us thought that they were okay, but they really were not okay because
Mhm.
depending upon the time it was happening to them when COVID was happening to them,
Yeah,
right? Like that lack of social engagement. during those years, even though it was just like a year and a half,
Mm.
it was crucial. It was crucial, and it really impacted people in a lot more ways than I think people
Yeah.
thought. Go on. What were you saying? I didn't mean to cut you off. I just had to say that.
Oh, I was saying that, we think about, not only are they tying themselves up, being obsessed with video games, and there's also something that's not very outwardly visible, is that the psychological effect that it has on these boys, that, aside from just being obsessed with playing video games, the whole mental, the mental effects of just sitting there and playing video games all day long, it probably has a vegetating effect on their brain. But whether it's vegetating or whatever, it has some kind of harmful effect on their overall stability.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it was not just video games, right? It's screens in general. TikTok, social,
Yeah,
Instagram,
yeah,
um,
yeah, exactly. It's
iPad as
crazy.
the kids are growing up. Like there's a whole I was hanging out with one of my friends. I haven't seen her in a while, and her and her husband just had a baby, and she literally was out all day with him, just walking around. He has he's a little over 1 years old, but her whole idea now is that he will have no screens. Basically, he will be
Mm.
raised how we were raised, right?
Well, that's going to be a tough, looking at
It
everyone that's
is,
going to be
but
around
there's
him.
a movement around it, and so she says this. She said there's either like there's parent groups where there's like no screens, right, and everybody's just living life, experiencing it, not focused on their phones. You have a phone, but it's not your focus, right? The kids
Yeah,
don't
if
have
they have like a
phones until
community
it's
like that where everyone is
yes.
actively participating, yeah, that's manageable.
And then there's the other side, which is almost the other extreme where they just put the kid, give them the iPad, give them the video games, and they just go off and live their life, right? And they're just on it all the time. So there's
Yeah,
like these two things that are happening at the same time. But it seems like there's more and more people who are trying to remove themselves from screen. I read this study that said that right now there's a proclivity for Gen Z to be ditching their smartphones and just going back to flip phones and using flip phones,
interesting.
right? Because I remember we talked about this, and I said that I really wonder what it would be like if people just stopped being on TikTok, just stopped being on
Yeah,
Instagram, right? Just literally just said, you know what? I'm just gonna go and live my life. And when
yeah,
somebody wants to talk to me, they can call me. And if I don't pick
yeah,
up, oh well. And
yeah,
just stop the whole immediate need for connection. And if you don't get that dopamine response back, that you're okay. I mean, we're all addicted to it, but there seems to be this effort to try to move away
yeah.
from that. And
That's
that's a
good.
lot too. There's all these things that are affecting the boys. Anyway, I just thought the whole
Mm.
it's yes, it is something that I think about because we are a society of male and females. I know there's others too that whatever, but that's such a small percentage. Um, but my point is that we're male and female. That's what the world is made up in terms of human beings. And we need to understand that. And it's not a zero sum game. Well, if women win, then men lose. If men win, then women lose. Doesn't need to be like that.
Yeah,
And that's the whole point of these conversations. So,
that's a
okay,
very good point.
it's 19 minutes. What are we talking about now? AI. I'm gonna let you go first.
Well, there's a interesting development that's happened in the fashion world. Uh, Guess has put out an advertisement using an AI female model, and Vogue accepted it, and published it in their magazine. Now, there
Oh,
is,
an AI
yeah,
actual model, like a
yeah,
model.
not an actual model, an AI model. Gotcha,
Okay,
gotcha.
I'm sorry, an AI model that is uh
A
like a
female.
model, a female model, but was
Yes,
created by AI, and it's in Vogue magazine.
correct. There is an agency out there
Interesting.
that is in the business of creating AI fashion models for companies. And there is, a lot of controversy around this, but I would like to challenge some of these controversies that people are bringing up. For example, people are complaining that it will reduce diversity in the modeling world amongst models that are used in advertisements. I would argue it's possible. So, for example, the model that was the AI model that was used in this Guess advertisement is a white woman who was blonde. Um, but I would argue, maybe it will reduce diversity. Maybe there will be less racial diversity, and also there might be less body type diversity. But we just can't say because it might go the other way. Maybe it'll become easier for advertisers to find the kind of diverse model they're looking for. That they can just create it rather than looking for that exact kind of model they're trying to find in the real world. Maybe it's hey, we can just create this model, this full figured model that we're looking that we want to have in our advertisement. We don't have to go searching for that exact kind. So it might make it easier. So it could go either way. Is my point. I don't think that there's a big argument that it will this kind of use of AI human models will reduce the diversity in the modeling world. And another thing is it will make impossible standards for young consumers. Now,
I'm more concerned
because
about that part than I am the other part,
well,
and here's
here
why.
here's the
I
thing.
just yeah, I just because AI is perfect when it comes to the images,
Well,
right?
well. Let me tell you.
And
So, looking at the AI model that was used in the Guess ad, she was more of a full figure. She was not heavy set, but she was more full figured. She looked healthy. She was not an anorexic looking typical supermodel that would be used when you have real human beings. She looked like a healthy woman, and so the other thing is, okay, I can see why people would be afraid of, okay, these companies want to create the ideal, what's considered by some as ideal, the Barbie doll model figure and looks. But think about this. Again, it could go the entirely opposite way, right? Because companies understand the needs for diversity. They're trying to expand their audiences, right? Especially now, clothing companies. There's a lot more competition, a lot less sales because with these big brands, people are buying clothes off of Amazon, and there's just a much bigger distribution of purchasing power. And purchases across different media, across different types of companies, right? So you know, companies like Guess, they probably want to get new audiences looking at their clothing, purchasing their clothing. And how do they do that? They create diversity. They're going to have to if they want to maintain a position in the market. Um, and also the other thing is also too,
okay,
Robbie.
okay, smarty
And
pants.
I'm saying that because I want to emphasize something. I'm coming to a big point here.
I know because
Um,
you're saying the same thing, and what are you gonna say?
okay. Also, too, um, already we have these models. The photos are taken, and they're completely photoshopped when they're put into these advertisements or whatever imaging in magazines, whatever. They're already photoshopped to look skinny. That whole they cut they slice their bodies off, the sides of their bodies off to make them look like hourglass images. All they slim them out. They remove any blemishes, anything on the skin to make it look like porcelain. So that stuff is already going on, right? I don't see how it could get any worse than it already is in terms of creating impossible standards. Am I right?
I disagree. No, I disagree with you, for a couple things. One, this whole diversity argument about Guess. Guess has been using blonde, white women models forever. I mean, that's kind of their base thing. Anna Nicole Smith, all that. They've had black models, but for the most part, that's their baseline. And I saw the picture. I just looked at it, and I guess she has like, she's quote unquote shapely. But again, this is the idea that one, that was the choice, and two, I just don't think she does look perfect. She looks like she's had a lot of different procedures and all of the different
Yes,
things.
you're
The
right.
nose
Right.
is, her cheekbones are perfect. All of this, so she
Yes.
does look. So that is
Don't say
going to
perfect. Don't
be.
say perfect.
I mean perfect in the sense of model and the I
Yeah.
and that framework. I don't mean
Yeah.
that in the sense of a human being, because no
Yeah.
one is perfect, and
Except
you
for
are
me.
perfect in the eyes of the your beholder, etc., or to yourself, right? So no, I don't mean that. Let's not go down that path. I mean in the sense of this conversation, this ideal. And I do think that that can be detrimental for young kids and young girls of all ages, just because it's not real. That's not a real person. It's AI.
Neither are the
Even
actual human models that are used in advertisements because they're
yes, but
completely
here's the thing
photoshopped.
about no, that's just no, I disagree with you, because even though they do all that crap to the human models, when you see them in person, you still are seeing someone that looks very similar, even if it's not exact, but very
How
similar
I mean,
to
how
the.
often is the average girl in suburban or rural America going to run into a supermodel?
It depends on where you live. But my point is not that. My point is that you can still go back to saying that that's a person. And yes, those are too high of a bar to kind of reach for, because not everybody looks like that, right? We all are individuals. We all are unique.
But why are you making the assumption that all these companies are going to go for the ideal model
I
look?
think all these companies are going to test this out because they're going to see how they can save money. That's what I think all of this is about. I don't think this has anything to do with diversity or this and that. This has to do with how can I
I'm
save
not,
money? If I put this AI model in here, I don't have to pay somebody to put
right.
the
Yeah, absolutely.
and
That's
so
exactly it.
how will
But I'm
this
saying
work?
they're going to make use of
Will
diversity
this
because
work?
they know they have to get audiences.
Will
You
this
know,
work? Right now, I don't think it's gonna work. Right now, I think people are there's just a big backlash on this whole substitution of people for AI. There's one side,
also,
particularly in a situation like this. It's one thing, when you're talking about workers, et cetera. It's another thing when you're talking about images. So I just don't know if it's going to work right now. But do I think eventually it's going to take effect? Absolutely.
what's interesting is that the agency that created this AI model for guests.
No one knows.
I'm sorry.
I said, but no one knows. No one knows what's going to happen with all of this. Nobody knows what's
Right.
going to
Exactly. Exactly.
happen. We all have
So
our ideas. I have
interesting.
my ideas. You have your ideas, but nobody knows what the heck is going to happen.
Yeah, we just cannot we just cannot predict. And interestingly enough, the agency, the two women that have the agency that created this AI model for guests, said that right now, based on their market testing, they get more of a response from AI models that are blonde haired and white, as opposed to people of other colors. And
Of course, though. But that's what's happening in
but how
reality.
can that be
Reality
though?
is
Because we've
different.
got
What do
how
you mean,
I,
how can that be? I don't understand where this whole,
because
like, I'm ignorant to what is happening. That
wait,
is just what
listen,
people see as
listen,
what
listen,
beauty
listen.
is.
You got
That is
people
what it
of
is.
color. You got people of color with so much more purchasing power now across the world globally, which wasn't there
Okay.
back in the 80s or the
Okay.
90s.
Yeah, okay. This is a really old argument, and it's kind of it's not even worth having. And I think that you're just trying to make this a little bit salacious, but of course that's going to be
Honestly, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm trying to make a point that you've got people, so many more people of color across the globe that have so much more purchasing power now. I find it odd to believe that these two women that supposedly ran. It must have been a very, very limited type of market test, very controlled market test, where they found that people on social media are reacting more to their ads that contain white, blonde-haired AI models as opposed to diverse AI
Of
models.
course, though Barbie. I mean, I mean, men of all races and backgrounds, many of them believe that blonde, Caucasian women are the highest level of beauty. Not all, but that's kind of been a
It's,
mainstay in imaging. I mean, like,
yeah,
this is
yeah.
old conversations. This is not like something that's new. This is not a new conversation. It's not, I'm not casting any sort of judgment around this. I'm just saying that these are facts.
I'm just personally, if their market test is truly accurate, I am genuinely surprised at that in this day and age
No,
because
you're
we
not.
have no, no. I am honestly, I'm honestly surprised
Uh, I'm not surprised
because
by it.
I mean, I'm genuinely surprised that in this day and age that they wouldn't get enough, response from on social media from people for AI models that are something other than blonde hair, blue eyed, white skinned.
We don't know. I mean, there's all kinds of things. We don't know who they tested. We don't know what
Exactly,
that
exactly. That's my point.
was about.
I'm just
There's
making
all these different things, right, that
exactly.
go into that. That's why I'm just like, okay. And then, as I said, to the point of Barbie, right? Barbie is Barbie. Barbie, quote unquote, is an icon, right? Barbie at a certain point was the quote unquote epitome of beauty. You have
Yeah,
black Barbies, you have Indian Barbies, you have Mexican Barbies, you have Asian Barbies now. I mean, it's all these different things just because I just don't think, I'm not, again, I don't really think this has anything to do with diversity. I think you're having this conversation and maybe they're having a conversation about it, but this more has to do with money and
no, I
how
agree.
do
That's
we
what I'm
not
saying.
pay
It is
a
absolutely
model,
about saving
period,
money.
and full
Um,
stop. That's what this is about.
it is absolutely about saving money. But what I'm saying is, this would enable companies to find, look, money goes into searching for the right model too, right? That they're looking for. So it's absolutely about saving money.
Yeah.
But who's to say that doing this is going to prevent diversity? I don't think it's going to prevent diversity. I think, in fact, it could help diversity.
Well, let's
It's
talk
possible.
about
Yeah.
something else in AI because we only have a few minutes left. So there's this guy named what's his name? I really do think he's pretty. I talk about him a lot. Grant Lee, he's CEO of Gamma. There actually was a Wall Street Journal article about him, and he was talking about he did a post a couple days ago, actually, and it says we've killed every entry level job at our company, quote unquote. I've heard this from enough founders now, and it's time to sound the alarms. Quote unquote, what happens to all our new grads, quote unquote? My honest answer is I don't know. That's what he said. He said, I have two young kids and I remain very optimistic about the future. Here's why. Every technology shift forces us to shed old skills to make room for new ones. This has been a true but far back history as you can go, and AI is no different. My optimistic view is that the boring work is dead. The interesting work is all that's left. If I were to give my 20-year-old self advice today, it would be one, go deep first, wide second. Pick domains that energize you and go deep. So, areas of focus that you can study, go really deep in terms of understanding them. The people who thrive and understand things at a very deep, deep level, they know the right questions to ask, the right
Mhm.
questions for prompting, right? For the AI models, you have to know the right questions to ask. Even the best generalists have spikes. I know many designers who also code and can prototype. The very best ones started with a solid foundation in UI UX that enables them to get the very best out of their ideas. Again, how can you create something from nothing by asking questions or thinking through it? Skip the resume, build in public. I thought this was interesting. Roy Lee, 21, built
Hold
a
on.
browser
What does
over.
skip the resume mean? What does that mean?
He means don't have a resume when you go and interview. Like just build something. But this is very tech based and tech focused. So I
Yeah.
want to be
Yeah.
clear on that. But essentially, he's saying bring something that you've created,
Mm-hmm.
build something to show that you can make something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, and he's just talking about people who are funded as, startups, etc. And then he said he knows a product manager who built an entire analytics system using Claude and Cursor, no SQL experience. Now anyone at the company can pull insights without writing code. So again, he says this, build real things, document the process, watch what
Mm-hmm.
happens, and then solve the AI translation crisis. So many people use it, but they don't know how to scale it. Um, so again, basically he's like the old career ladder is dead. Yes, that's scary, but you don't need it anymore. That's the opportunity. 10 years ago, entry level meant fetching coffees and paying dues. Today, master a domain, go deep, be specific, ship real work, build something, and teach senior talent your superpowers. Now, he's speaking
Well,
from a
here's my
tech perspective, and there's some of that where I'm just like, okay. But
yeah.
I think that the idea that you have someone like him who was just written up in the Wall Street Journal, who scaled a company with 50 million users with less than 20 people. He has over $100 million in ARR, supposedly. He created this
Mhm.
company. You can literally go on Gamma, you use it, and it will build a PowerPoint presentation for you in like 5 minutes. I mean, it's
That's amazing.
freaking crazy how amazing it is. And all these templates and everything you can just pull from, and you can just write a prompt and it'll just create it for you. Right. And so the thing about that is because he's using all of these tools and he's young and able to use them without fear. He's built a business on this and he's scaled it and he's like, okay, this is what it is. Now, is
Mhm.
everything going to happen that way? No. But the idea that you have him and other people out there saying these things, this is the way it's going to go.
Yeah, but the thing is, this is a very different era. This is a very big change from what has been in
I
decades.
know.
So people are not, they can't just shift over as easily as they have in the past. This is just such a whole. It's such a huge shift. So I agree with you, and I agree with him that you know, to a certain extent, right? And then there are so many other factors in this whole shift over that I think a lot of people are going to get lost in the shuffle.
If you don't use AI and you're not trying to figure out how to use it and asking questions and jumping in there and figuring out how you can make your life easier, you will not be able to work. Period. In full stop. Unless you're
Hmm.
going to be a plumber, an HVAC repair person, um, what's something else? Like fixing cars, all of those things. I mean, robots are a long way away, so anything that's tactical, yeah, you can do. I mean, I saw something crazy that said one of the biggest areas of growth for work is going to be agricultural workers. Basically, migrant farmers is a huge growth area. Now, they tried to make it seem like
How
it was
ironic.
not that. Yeah, I know. I thought that was ironic too. Of course, they didn't say migrant farmers, right? But they were like, there's going to be a huge growth in agricultural work out in the fields. I was like, what?
Mhm.
That's what
Yeah,
people have to look for?
yeah.
Anyway, okay. So there's that. That really wraps up what I was going to talk about. And you mentioned
Well,
your
let's
AI.
call it a
So
day then.
let's call it a day. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for listening to us. Remember, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. We are still audio only right now. But follow us, like us, make comments, please, please, please. And look for something new that's coming from us soon. Stephen, did you have anything that you wanted to say?
Thank you, my friends, for joining us for another wonderful episode. We're hitting some milestones here, so we thank you all. We're excited about what's to come and sharing our insights with you, and looking forward to getting your feedback on our conversations as well. It is I, Stephen Kennedy, Oh no, I screwed it up. It is I,
He's doing
Stephen,
too much,
with
audience. He is
a
doing
PH.
way too much. That's what he gets.
It is I, Stephen, with a PH Kennedy, board certified atheist knocking at your door.
Goodbye, everyone. That's what you get. You were doing too much.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.